Hey guys, how's it going? Listen, I want to share something with you today, something that's kind of on my mind. And I was just talking to a client of mine, and we were talking about finances. This person's really struggling with their finances, trying to figure out how to get ahead. And first of all, I just started telling him and thinking about this. This is so common. I deal with so many people who struggle financially, who can barely keep the bills paid, have never even thought or considered being able to save money because they're trying to pay off debt that's piled up to their eyeballs. And they cannot get ahead. They're not making enough money. They can't figure it out because let's face it, it's really expensive to live nowadays, right? Rent is going up like crazy, cost of food is crazy, groceries, everything is so expensive, and no one wants to pay a lot of money for a job, right? Very few people I ever talk to feel that they are adequately paid for what they do. It just never happens. So, it got me thinking. I was like, this is something that is really important to talk about for a lot of reasons, because finances are such a huge thing. It controls a lot of the decisions that we make. It controls the ability for us to have freedom, and it really just controls our life. And so how do you break past that? And that's what I was kind of talking to him about. And, between him and I, we started talking about his finances and kind of combing through, the different things that he spends money on. And, and I've experienced this many, many times with other clients and also just people that I talk to. And it always boils down to the same thing. You guys, you got to stop buying dumb crap. Stop buying dumb crap. And we have all these justifications for why we get it. Well, I have to have this. This is important for me. This is something I really need. It makes a big difference in my life, but it really doesn't. You see, we get so caught up in buying the comforts and the short-term pleasures that we completely sacrifice our long-term freedom and our long-term comfort. Let me tell you this, anything that typically provides comfort in the short term typically hurts you long term, especially when it comes to financial things. And so we're digging through, we're combing over, and we're just going through all these different things that this guy was spending money on. And it was like, first of all, this guy wasn't making that much money, relative to a lot of people, the average income, but he's driving this super expensive car. And I'm like, dude, why do you need this car? And he's like, well, it's just, it's important to have an image. And I'm like, for who? An image for who? What image are you trying to portray? And to who are you trying to impress? Because who's paying your bills? There's no one paying your bills. So you think that your life's gonna be so much better? Do you have more opportunity because you have a nice car? You see, so many of us are trying to impress other people. We're trying to show that we have it together, that it hurts us short term. It hurts us in the long run, because we're trying to feed that short term pleasure. We're trying to feed that short term need to feel, whether it's significant, to feel like we have purpose, or to feel like, hey, I know what I'm doing. And all these things completely destroy our potential for financial future. And so, I'm sitting here, we're combing through other things. This guy's eating out all the time. I'm like, what are you eating out for? And he's like, well, it's just I get busy. And it's like, I get really busy, and I don't have time to cook and stuff. I'm like, well, what's your day look like? We're kind of combing through it. I'm like, well, why do you have to eat out at such nice places? There's plenty of places that are way cheaper to eat, that provide just as good of food. Anyway, we're going through. He's got every streamer known to man. And I'm just like, dude, this is why you can't save. Listen, this is just what I wanted to talk about today, is that you have got to make a decision in your life, what it is that you really want for yourself. There is nothing wrong with the things that he does. Nothing wrong at all. Okay? There's nothing wrong with having a nice car. There's nothing wrong with eating out a lot. There's nothing wrong with having every streamer. There's nothing wrong with enjoying your life. But here's the thing, you need to understand, there are consequences to the decisions that we make. And so by sitting there and trying to fulfill short-term pleasures and needs, he's completely sacrificing the long-term ability to create financial future for himself. You see, this guy deep down really wants to have freedom. He wants to be able to live life on his terms. He wants to be able to explore, travel. He wants to stop working one day. But I'm telling him, I'm like, listen, how are you going to do that if you can't save money? And it's like, well, eventually I'll make more. And then, once I start making more, of course, I'll be able to save then. It's just the problem is I just don't make enough money. Once I save more, I'll begin saving. And I said, really? Let me ask you something here. Because this person was, in their mid 40s, and I said, let me ask you something. Do you make more now than you did 10 years ago? He goes, oh yeah, no, for sure. I was like, well, how much? The guy says, like 15,000, 20,000 or so. I said, wow, that's a pretty good increase in pay. I said, so I would assume then you are saving a lot more, right, than you were 10 years ago? He's like, well, what do you mean? This is why I'm talking to you. It's why I hired you as a coach, is that I'm not saving money. I need you to help me. I said, really? I said, yeah, I know you're not saving money. But that's weird though, because 10 years ago, you were making $15,000 less and still weren't saving. So what we just said a second ago is that once you make more money, shouldn't be a problem to save. But yet what we're finding out is that, you're making more money now than you did 10 years ago, but you're still not saving. So what's the deal? Let me tell you something. If you fall into that mindset trap of once I make more money, then I can save, I can promise you that you're never going to save money. You're just not. That's not how it works, people. It's not, I don't make enough money to save. It's no matter what, I'm going to save money. And this was a big revelation. So what we had to do is we had to sit there and we had to talk through, what is it that is the most important to you in life? Is it really the streamer? Is it really the nice car? Is that really what fuels your long-term purpose as a person, your vision and goal? Is that the fundamental key to it? I'm not saying you can't have that at some point, but when you look at like, what is my purpose in life? If I could have one thing that happens to me in life, is that it? Is it the nice car? Of course not. And it wasn't for him either. Like I said, his passion was to travel, was to explore the world, was to live life on his terms. He wanted to one day be able to say, I don't want to work anymore. I want to live my life. And I told him, okay, well, this car is keeping you from that. Listen, he's paying like, somewhere like mid 500s, almost like $600 a month for his car. And I'm like, there are plenty decent cars that you can get for like $300, $350. So there's a couple $100 in savings right there. It's a couple $1,000s a year. We start talking about the foods. Like, what if you cut your food bill in half? Because this food was astronomical. There's no reason you should be spending that much money on food. And so we're digging through this, and like literally we did a comb over, and this wasn't even like getting into the nitty gritties, but like we literally found like $500 a month in savings, easy. That would not even completely, and we're not even talking about like, I never go out now and like, I only eat ramen noodles. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about some good subtle changes that doesn't dramatically affect his lifestyle. And we're saving like $500 a month. You guys, that's like $6,000 a year. And you're thinking like, oh man, like $6,000, well, that ain't gonna change nothing. No, it doesn't change your life in a year. But guess what? If you do that for the next 2 to 3 years, talking $12,000, $18,000 you have in savings now. This guy wanted to buy a house, and he didn't actually live in a too expensive an area, and that would have been enough to probably put down a down payment on a house. Or even better, as I told him, don't buy a house. Let's buy a multi-unit where you live in a unit, you rent out the others. So now we get rid of your rent. This guy's paying, I forget what he was paying. He was paying something like, $1,500 a month, something like that for his rent. And I'm like, if we negated that rent, that's where the kicker starts coming in. It's like, man, now you're saving the $500 a month, plus you'd be saving $1,500 a month. That's $2,000 a month. That's that's $24,000 a year in savings. After a couple years of that, Now you can buy another property. Guys, the reason why most people don't save is a couple reasons. Number one is they lack a strong game plan. You see, when you don't have a strategy in place on how you're going to utilize the money that you're saving, of course you're not going to save, because you're going to say, well, what's the point? It's like, well, I might die tomorrow. All these different things in our head. But when you have a strong game plan that shows you how you're going to get your purpose in life, how you're going to achieve it, it makes it so much easier to follow through. Because of course in the beginning it's always like, well, it's like, I don't know, it just seems like a lot, man. I like my streamers, I like my car, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but what's more important to you? Having that car, or one day actually having freedom in your life? Guys, that's what you have to understand. That's what you have to get straight. If you're going to create change in your financial future, you're going to have to make sacrifices, and you're going to have to really focus on what is it that you want to see for your life in the end. You start with the end in mind, start with that vision, visualize it, and really make it emotional. And then ask yourself, are the things in my life that I have right now worth waiting or not potentially having what I want 10, 20, 30 years from now? For some of you, maybe it's 5. Because for some of you who make a lot of money, I know multiple six-figure earners, people who earn multiple six figures, and they're barely keeping afloat. And if they could just live super frugal for a year or two, they could do some major damage in their financial future. But they're too comfortable. So are you too comfortable to create a dynamic future, to create a life on your terms? Anyways, if this message kind of resonated with you, make sure you like it, subscribe to this channel, and make sure you leave some comments below. I want to hear about some of the things that are expensive in your life that you're going to start cutting out. Or if you have questions about this, or you're unsure of certain things, leave a comment below. I'll message you. These are things that will dramatically change your life, and I want to make sure that you don't sacrifice short-term comfort for your long-term vision.